Bedtime Stories, Grandma and her Curious Munchkin, Naya. One cold, foggy morning, 5-year-old Naya was fast asleep when her grandma, who was seated in an armchair, called out to her, "Wake up, Munchkin! Look outside! What a wonderful morning it is!" Naya jumped up from her bed and looked out of her window with half-sleepy eyes. Suddenly, her eyes widened. Everything was covered with fog. The green grass looked like a carpet of snow. Naya smiled as she looked around. She asked Grandma Mary, "Grandma, how do we get fog? What is it made of?" Grandma replied, "Good morning to you, Naya." Naya quickly realized she did not wish her grandma. She ran to her and hugged her, saying, "Good morning, Grandma," and she ran back to the window. Grandma smiled and said, "In cold and sometimes rainy weather conditions, small droplets of water come together to form a thick cloud close to the land or sea, making it difficult to see. Similarly, we also have mist, mostly in the rainy season. The difference is that fog is denser or thicker than mist. Both are formed by condensation of water, which means when cold water droplets in the air or on the ground comes in contact with warm air, it turns into clouds, forming fog or mist." Naya was listening attentively. Just then, Naya suddenly noticed the sun rising up from behind the foggy mountains. It was beautiful. It looked as red as the setting sun. The center was brighter and was bordered with the darkest red color. She said, "Look, Grandma, the sun. It looks like a gem in the sky." Grandma Mary smiled and said, "Yes, Munchkin, nature is a wonder, but people don't take the time to stop and admire the natural beauty that God has blessed us with, nor do they care for it. Now go brush your teeth, clean up, and get changed, while I prepare our breakfast." Soon Naya was ready. They had their breakfast, and Naya went out to play with her friends. She wore a green frock with yellow polka dots and yellow shoes. They played in the green grass. Naya and her 3 friends, Lisa, Stella, and Mia. They ran around like crazy, yelling and singing loudly, "Oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in." and marched one behind the other. They collected flowers and sat to play. The sun was now high up in the sky and shining bright and yellow. Naya looked up at the sky and showed her friends a flock of cranes flying across the sun. They all looked up with widespread smiles on their faces. It was afternoon, and the kids began feeling the heat of the sun and decided to go back to their houses. Soon as Naya entered her house, the lovely aroma from the kitchen made her hungry. She called out, "Grandma, I'm home." Grandma asked Naya to wash up and help her to set the table for lunch. Naya cleaned up and set the table with Grandma Mary. Grandma served smoky hot mashed potatoes with some grilled veggies and chicken. They quickly said their prayer before meals and started digging into their plates. It's so yummy, Grandma, said Naya. Grandma, while I was out playing, I saw that the sun wasn't red anymore, and it was high up in the sky, all yellow and bright. Yes, Munchkin, because it's afternoon now. Now no talking while you eat your food. Sorry, Grandma, said Naya, and continued to eat her food. Soon they were done. Grandma did the dishes, and Naya wiped them dry and put them back in place, while Grandma continued with some household chores. Naya sat to study in her room. As soon as she finished her studies, she ran to get some snacks. Grandma was making pancakes for tea. She said, "Munchkin, why don't you go look out of your window? And try drawing what you see." Naya was excited with the idea. She said, "Oh yes, okay, Grandma," and ran back to her room. She took out a white sheet of paper and her colors and sat on her bed, looked out of the window and began drawing. As soon as she completed her drawing, she ran to Grandma and showed it to her. Grandma was amazed by the beautiful painting. "Well done, Munchkin." Naya noticed the table and yelled with excitement, "Yippee! Pancakes are ready!" Grandma smiled as they both sat down at the table. Naya was served a small glass of milk and a cup of tea for Grandma. While eating, Naya said, "Grandma, I have a question and can't wait to know the answer." Grandma smiled. She said, "Curiosity is good, but not impatience. If you waited in the kitchen with me, you would be impatient about the pancakes too. But because you kept yourself busy with your painting, you did not think about the pancakes, because you were focused on your work, and the pancakes were ready before you knew it. And you were excited, else you would be waiting impatiently and would not allow me to do my work peacefully. But by being patient, you have a beautiful painting ready, and we have our pancakes in front of us. Yes, Grandma, you're right. I'll wait until we finish eating, so I can enjoy my hot pancakes. Chomp chomp ate Naya. Naya dear, keep your mouth closed while chewing your food. And remember, knife in right and fork in your left hand. Okay, Grandma. Soon they were done, and they went out to their front porch and sat on the swing. They looked at the sun as it was moving slowly downwards behind the mountains. The sky looked beautiful with hues of red, orange, and pink, and birds flying, just as Naya had painted, only that the sun was high up like a big ball of fire that had cooled down now. Munchkin, said Grandma, what is it you wanted to ask me? Naya smiled with excitement. Oh, yes, Grandma, when I woke up early this morning, I saw the sun moving up in the sky, and it was red in color. Later, when we had our lunch, it got all yellow and bright. Yes, said Grandma. And later, while I was painting, it turned orange and red and kept moving down. And now it's all red, just like it was early in the morning. Why does it have the same color as in the morning? Shouldn't it be different? That is a very good observation by you, Munchkin, said Grandma. Now, let me explain that with an example. When a child is born, it's born with innocence, love, and it looks up to their parents for care and support. They then grow up into smart, bright adults, live their lives, work, share their light with others, and slowly their light goes dim. Then one day they get old and go back to being innocent, loving and looking for care and support from their children. Though they are not a child anymore, but they go back to behaving and feeling the same way. So here the child is the rising sun, and an adult is the sun during the day. The old person is like the setting sun in the evening, who's going down and back to feeling like a child. Wow, Grandma, you explained it all so well. But that brings a question to my mind. What is it? Said Grandma Mary. Well, when I saw the early early morning sunrise, I admired its beauty just as we were now admiring the sunset. But as kids, we are admired and cared for. But I don't see anyone caring or looking after the old people the same way. Shouldn't they be taken care of the same way as us? Grandma smiled at Naya and said, "Now that is a very interesting question, Munchkin. Only if every adult had a heart and understanding like yours, this world would be a much better place to live in." She kissed Naya on her forehead as they both stood up and walked towards the door. As they entered, Grandma shut the door. They took a shower, changed into their night suits, had their dinner, read bedtime stories, and soon it was time to go to sleep. Grandma tucked Naya in, kissed her on her forehead, and said, "Good night, Munchkin. Sweet dreams to you." Naya replied, "Good night, Grandma." As she looked out of her window, she saw the stars and the moon before she could shut her eyes.